Why podcast? My name is Norbert Elliot. I'm a professor at New Jersey Institute of Technology. I do an enormous amount of research and writing, so the question always comes, how do you stop what you're doing, or why should you stop what you're doing and spend time in podcasting? My experiences began 1997 through 1999 with a grant from the Sloan Foundation called From Virtual Classroom to Virtual College. My job was to put together a 2-semester world literature course. And these were in the old days when there was an enormous amount of emphasis on production. We had a studio, we had storyboarding, teleprompters, sound controls. When we were done, we began to teach the course asynchronously in a distance learning format. And an amazing thing happened. The students were very well prepared when they came online to discuss the content. That is, they were not there to get information about what was in the fiction, drama, and poetry. They were there to discuss the relevancy of it, what it was they thought they wanted to get out of the readings, what fine points it was they wanted to articulate. And all of a sudden, my position shifted enormously. I was no longer responsible for providing content. The content was already there. What I was involved in was promoting critical thinking. So this shift was an enormous difference of perception for me. Something happened that simply hadn't happened before. And I began to realize that if I took the time out to put my ideas down in some kind of media before, that my own ideas would get sharper and more refined. Well, since that time, the technology has improved enormously. I no longer have to go to the studio, and simply from desktop with a microphone and any one of a wide variety of kinds of software is available in many different kinds of format. I can produce content from my courses. So what happens is the students listen to this content, whether I'm teaching in a distance learning asynchronous format or a face-to-face synchronous format, and they come ready to discuss, not ready to have content provided to them. So this has made an enormous difference in the way that I understand what I'm doing in my teaching. As well, I'm very interested in the impact in this on my students for their own abilities. Some time ago, I did a podcast series called To the End of the Essay, and that I claim that a sole writing form, a sole reporting structure called the essay, was disenfranchising students. It's really an antiquated way to think as the sole way that students might report what it is they're doing. So I began to have the students do what I do. They make podcasts. So it's not that they don't write essays, they don't do reports, but they also do podcasts. And in this way, they're able to sharpen and refine their own ideas. So at the end of the day, podcasting allows me to think more critically about the material that I'm presenting, and it allows me, as I add podcasts to my series and courses across time, to make my observations more sharply to students. As well, it transforms the classroom into a place where information is communicated into an environment of collaboration. My students, because they're much more prepared when they come into class, they have much of the content, they're there to discuss things collaboratively, and again, to try to come to very discrete, very subtle points about what it is they're reading. Finally, it's a wonderful way to communicate. It allows people who perhaps have English as their second language to get a better idea of how they might give voice to their own perceptions. So critical thinking, collaboration, and communication, these are really the best environments and the best affects to allow us to podcast.